Welcome. Tonight's story was sent to me by a subscriber named Evan, who says he and his girlfriend moved into a house that should have stayed empty. Now, turn down the lights, get comfortable, and let's step into the house on Sycamore Hill. Evan writes, "It started when my girlfriend, Lila, and I finally found a place we could afford. A 2-bedroom farmhouse at the edge of town, a little overgrown, but it had charm, the kind of place that looks quiet from the outside, but feels like it's waiting for something. The realtor was in a rush that day, barely looked us in the eyes. When Lila asked about the previous owners, she hesitated, then said, 'They left unexpectedly.' I remember laughing about it on the drive home. I shouldn't have. We moved in on a Saturday. By midnight, the house already felt off. There was this low hum in the walls, not electrical, not pipes, something deeper, like the sound was breathing with us. Lila thought I was just tired, so we went to bed. Around 3:07 a.m., I woke up. The bedroom was freezing, like the air itself had turned solid. And then I saw the light. It was coming from the hallway, a faint blue glow, pulsing, not bright enough to see shapes, but just enough to notice a shadow moving against the opposite wall. I remember whispering, 'Lila, do you see that?' But she didn't answer. She was sitting upright in bed, eyes wide open, staring straight at the doorway. The next morning, she said she didn't remember anything. I didn't push it, though I could tell she was shaken. We decided to unpack to make the place feel more like home. By evening, the house seemed calm again, until we found the basement door. It was locked with a heavy padlock, rusted shut like it hadn't been opened in decades. Lila said, maybe we should leave it alone. But of course, I didn't. The following night, I picked the lock, and when the door finally creaked open, the smell hit me. Damp, metallic, and old. The air was thick. There were steps leading down into darkness, and at the bottom, a single light bulb swinging. It flickered once, twice, then went out. That's when I heard it. A woman's voice, whispering right behind me. "Don't let him out." I turned around, but no one was there. I ran upstairs, slammed the door, and nailed it shut with a hammer. I didn't tell Lila what I'd heard, but she could tell. 3 nights later, Lila started sleep-talking. At first, it was random words, just murmurs. Then one night, she said something that made my blood run cold. "He's under the floor." I started recording her after that. And on the 4th night, around 3 a.m., I caught something. You can hear Lila breathing. And then another voice, a man's, faint but clear. "You opened the door." The next morning, I showed her the recording. She turned white and said, "I dreamed I was standing in the basement, but it wasn't ours. It was clean, new." There was a man at the bottom of the stairs, facing the wall. She started crying, and then she said, "I think he saw me." The house grew louder after that. Doors would rattle. Footsteps would echo up the stairs, even when we were both in bed. Sometimes the hum in the walls turned into a low, rasping moan, like something inside the plaster wanted out. One night, I woke up to find Lila gone. I heard her voice downstairs, soft, almost singing. When I reached the hallway, I saw her standing in front of the nailed basement door. Her head was tilted, listening. Then she said, "He's not bad. He just wants to be warm again." And before I could stop her, she started pulling the nails out, one by one. I grabbed her hand, and she screamed. This horrible, in-between sound, half human, half static. The lights blew out. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, the sun was rising, and Lila was gone. I called the police. They searched the woods, the fields, the well. No trace. They asked if I'd ever been in the basement. I said no, but 2 weeks later, I started hearing her voice behind the door, sometimes crying, sometimes humming. Last night, I finally unlocked it again. The basement was empty, except for one thing. In the middle of the floor, carved into the concrete, was a message, fresh, like someone had done it with a knife. "You let him out." That was Evan's story. He moved out of the Sycamore Hill house 3 months ago, and he says the next tenants didn't stay long. They left after hearing breathing in the walls. If you ever move into an old house and find a locked door, don't open it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Dark Side of My Room. If you have your own story, you can send it to thedarksideofmyroom@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep your lights low, because sometimes the dark side of your room is closer than you think.